Everybody, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be talking about the month of May and what should you use your free Series 3 buy on. You get one of these per month. It's really important. We'll also touch on the series drops. So make sure you're thinking about what's over here, what might be there for you. It's something to think about, right? All right, so let's see. We've got a graphic for you. We'll jump into that. I'll show you it and I'll walk through it a little bit and give you my opinion on what some of the best cards you should save for. And one of these is a little bit higher than normal because of what we're going to eventually get. It's a super powerful card, and I think it's going to be critical for getting this deck for this very, very, very powerful incoming card. Quick version, here's a graphic. Check it out. I will do one of these at least once a month. I will sometimes update it periodically throughout the month with the OTAs if I find that it's a significant change. But I'm going to try to just do one a month so it's not super confusing. I do have the date up here and the versions. So if you get confused about which one you're looking at, and I'll always have this in the resource section on my Discord, which is linked in the description below. The thing I want to mention with this every time I do these videos is when you see should and maybe buy and must buy, just because something pops up in a should buy, if you do not have a bunch of critical must buys, doesn't necessarily mean you should get it. Every individual person is different based on what your collection is. So the general rule of thumb I like to say here is you really shouldn't be looking at, say, the maybe buys unless you've got most everything in the should buys. Same can kind of be said for not looking at shoulds unless you're doing pretty well in the must. It's all about what deck you've got that you really want to play. You've got critical pieces and might be missing one. There are certainly better options than others that give you more variety of decks, but we'll cover that as we go through the cards. I'd like to start off in the maybe section. We had a number of changes from last month. Cerebro dropped way lower into the maybe. I actually struggled with having, I think I might have had him in must buy. And the reason for that is because Cerebro creates decks, but I dropped it down because I don't think Cerebro's that strong of a card at the moment, especially with Enchantress being as strong as she is. So we've got Titania, which is a fun, good card. A lot of points for a 1-point card. It jumps around a little bit, so you've got to be smart about how to play it. Destroyer just gives you a lot of different options. Goose is on the rise right now, limiting higher level cards in one location. Brood is critical for a card that we're going to mention later, but also plays well with Cerebro whenever you're playing it. I liked putting Venom in this list because Venom is a critical card for Destroy. If you're not a Destroy player, you don't even have to focus on something like that. I did add some additional cards at the bottom here just to give people a little bit more options. They're like, man, I just don't know what to buy, and I'm not sure if it's smart to buy some of these. Again, remember the point that I made with when you look at maybe buys. Hazmat, a great card. I think that's going to become critical very soon with the high evolutionary card coming to game. Hood, I think, is just a solid card. There's some arguments that could be made that should be put this a tier higher. I left it in maybe buy for now. Lockjaw, I almost could have left off this list, frankly. Sadly, the dog has fallen dramatically. I feel bad for him, but he's still on the maybe buy. Absorbing Man, just a great follow-up card for on reveals. Thor, another pretty solid card, but I think has fallen off a little bit with the Lockjaw change. I'm not seeing as many Thors because Thor was really nice because you could cycle cards in to try to get Mjolnir to come up. You're probably only going to see Thor now more played with Jane Foster. Colleen Wing, discard is hot right now. I wanted to put Colleen Wing in here because she does help make sure you discard a specific one versus the RNG chance. I love Jugs. Jugs are one of my favorite things in the world. Jugs are the best. So he puts anybody off to the side. I love him very much. He does great work. Kingpin, throw him in there. You've got Stegron if you're a whale. I really thought he should be on here. I love playing him. So whenever you see a card with the green highlight around it, that's the card that's going to drop this season, or is a card that's going to drop this season. And they're not necessarily always going to show up on this list. Sentry was one that I almost didn't put on here, but I think when teamed up with Viper, Sentry, or even Cosmo, if you play Sentry on Cosmo, it's a great card. It's very strong. So I put Sentry on the maybe buy list, depending on the type of player you've got. I also threw Beast on here because Beast is really fun for those bounce decks. All right, jumping up to should buy. Sadly, my sweet Arrow, I was torn putting her in should versus must. She's still a strong card, but I put her in the first spot of should buy. Now, there is sort of a bottom row, top row, kind of like closer you are to the left, the better you are, but it's not a science. I just sort of threw it in there. Arrow, I think, has fallen off quite a bit. She's a great card still. I'd love to see her a little bit stronger, but I don't know if 5/9 makes any sense. I still left Shuri on should buy, even though she's not played as much. I still think she's a strong card. The limiting factor of playing on her lane was a big reason for her drop. top, but I still think she's decent. I played a little bit of Shuri last night and it was still okay. Dracula's still a great card. You can always drop that when pairing up with Storm. Mr. Negative creates his own archetype. I love Mr. Negative decks. They are high risk, high reward, so you need to know how to play them well, and you need energy to try to get Mr. Negative out earlier. But I think it's a great card to kind of look at if you're looking to have that type of deck, and a lot of the cards that go with them can be easy to get. Psylocke, great energy generator. I still don't have Psylocke. I can't wait to have her someday. You see Electro more than you see Psylocke because she's limited to the next turn, but a great card. Null is dropping. I put Null in should buy. Arguably a must buy, but I think that it's a destroy specific card. Sometimes needs to just be paired with Galactus to really have a big impact. So for that reason, I left it on the second line of should buy. Next up, we've got Leader, who is showing up on this list for the first time. He came in hot and heavy. I'm not seeing him as much as I was originally, but still a great card. I think Ultron, fantastic, even though is now a little bit more limited with that Enchantress buff, but still a great card to hit a hard to reach locations. Valkyrie, I moved down from must buy to should buy. I think she is a strong card, even though she is very limited. I think she is almost a guaranteed win on a lane if played properly. Wong is a great card early on in your climb, but then falls off a little bit. Again, Enchantress is a problem there. Cosmo is a problem there. Anytime you've seen Wong, if a card like that is thrown there, Wong becomes much less effective, though he can put up huge numbers when paired up with Mystique, etc. Magneto, fantastic card. Some people would argue this is a must buy. I've got it in should for now. Zola, similar, very strong, powerful, gets cards to locations that are hard to reach. Spider-Man, I've got in the should buy section. I think he can really influence whether a person can play in a lane, and I like that limitation. It's almost like a location change type card. Captain Marvel, reaching out to areas where you just cannot get to at the end of the game, and she can help you win those late games. Red Skull and Taskmaster, they've fallen off a bit, but I still think could be in this should buy section. Both great cards and be pretty strong. I expect Red Skull to get a buff here sometime in the future because I do think he's fallen off a little bit, given that he gives your opponent a point for every card in their lane. Last but not least, the must buys. Now, I've still got Sarah in the #1 spot here, even though Enchantress got buffed. But Sarah is such a late play that with Enchantress to affect Sarah, someone's got to anticipate that you're going to play Sarah on turn 5 and know what location, and you have to have priority so that they then can Enchantress you. So I still think she's a great card, reducing cost. She-Hulk, as always, is a fantastic card. Anytime you pair up with Moon Girl, and do not take turn, you lay down 2 of those. Wave to bring in cards earlier. It's really fun to play Wave multiple times, potentially paired up with Odin. I think it's fantastic. I've got Patriot and Electro in the bottom line of the must buy. Patriot, again, specific archetype. I can see Patriot falling off must buy soon, and arguably, as I shoot this, I would argue you could put him in should buy right now. And the reason being is High Evolutionaries coming. And honestly, I could see them needing to rework Patriot because I think everyone's going to play High Evolutionary if they can get it. Electro is just fantastic for bringing cards earlier. It's better if you can destroy it, typically paired up with a Sandman, who did get nerfed. Bast, I think, is one of the hottest, strongest cards in the game. That's why I've got her in the top 4. Notice all women in the top 4 there, pulling down the top rankings. Next up, we've got Doom, a great, fantastic card. I think, again, hard to reach locations. Everyone's always factoring, do they have a Doom? Are they going to play Doom? Luke Cage. This is the card I want to highlight in this video. I'll probably drop him on the thumbnail. The reason I've got him in a must-buy situation where probably people are like, you are insane. But the reason being, and again, it's ongoing, Enchantress, I get it. So save Luke Cage for late. But with High Evolutionary coming in and it starting to be about reducing the power of cards with that sort of deck, I think it's going to be really critical to have Luke Cage. And as I mentioned in my video, yes, Enchantress, yes, Rogue, but I think you're going to want to have this card at least to be able to play around with those decks because I think they're going to be everywhere. Mystique, again, top line in a must buy. She is a fantastic card. She's always going to be in and around this area. Just really good, solid card. Darkhawk is one of the new cards to drop to Series 3 in the month of May. I do think that Darkhawk is a top line must buy card. Again, ongoing, so you got to remember with the Enchantress buff, but I think Darkhawk is really solid. Super Scroll is a lot of hotness right now. With the buff to Enchantress, you could argue that Super Scroll could be a should buy. I think that Super Scroll is just a great card. It's a really fun card to play with. So for that reason, I've got him in must buy. Silver Surfer, another card that's dropping in the month of May. 2 Series 3. I've got Silver Surfer in the must buy section. Some again would argue no, no, no. But I like the ability to on reveal with those 3-cost cards and potentially build things up. I mentioned Brood earlier. Brood sort of goes hand in hand with Surfer. If you don't have those hand in hand, I would not recommend playing that sort of deck. You really need both of those to pair together well. Death, I did move up to a must buy. I had her at should buy before, but I still just think that Death is a great card. Even if you're not playing Destroy a lot, when you do play Destroy and you can get a potential free play out of her, it is just monumental. And last but surely not least is my guy Daredevil. I just love Daredevil to death. I had him as a should buy before, but we were talking about it in Discord, link in the description below. I really love him so much. I was like, you know what? I'm going to put him at the end of should buy. And I'm going to be okay with that. Some people might say that is insane. That's silly. Why would you ever use your free monthly buy on Daredevil? Well, you know what? Daredevil is insanely powerful and can win you cubes in games very, very easily. So for that reason, I'm going to have him in should buy, and darn it, I'm going to leave him in should buy, I think. So that's it. That's the graphic. Let me know what your thoughts are. Where did I miss? What was obvious? What would you add? What is way off? All that sort of thing. I love hearing those type of things. Either comment below, come over to the Discord, whatever floats your boat. But again, I'm going to try to put these out at least once a month. I'll have it in the Snap resource channel. Feel free to share this with your aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, grandmas, grandpas. Speaking of that, I am trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you want to help with that, whether you think there's good content or you just generally feel bad for me, I appreciate it either way. If you want to hammer down that like button if this was helpful for you at all, very much appreciate that. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.